Today on BrickTalk, we are looking at retiring 2026 LEGO sets, and we're going to be sharing our thoughts on why we think these sets will be good or bad sets for investment.
But first, here's a look at my top sets table, top mentions, enthusiasm score. I want to pick a set high up here. 75337, the ATTE Walker, 50 mentions, and a decent 2.3 enthusiasm score.
Should be higher.
I'm glad to hear that because I'll jump straight to my conclusion. I am picking this as a bad set. Let me give you my case. $140, 1082 pieces, but it's been out since 2022. Let's look at the minifigures. $22 for Commander Cody. These are brick set numbers, plus or minus. This Clone Trooper Gunner, around $12 to $15. And then the last minifigure in this set is below $10. And then we've got some not minifigures down here.
No love for the battle droids.
Check this out. It says in sets you own 115 of this minifigure. So when we add these minifigure values up, we're at like $45 on a $140 set. That is strike number one. Here on Amazon, demand isn't bad. 900 in the past month at full $140 retail price. But here on camel.com, I've got strike two and strike three. So here's the Amazon price. We know that this is wrong. It's been in stock most of the time and it's been on sale for $112. I'm not sure why that's showing, but I want to look at the third-party sales. So strike two is that in the last couple years, no third-party sales, even near the holidays above the $140 price point. All of the higher sales above retail were early in its shelf life. Strike three, the shelf life is just too long. When I throw ATTE Walker into brick set, we have had a few others. They are older, and so based on this historical trend, we will get another one. This one retired in 2010, and we got one 3 years later in 2013. This one retired in 2014, a couple years later in 2016, and then this one in 2017 to 2022. I think more likely we're not waiting 5 more years for another ATTE Walker. I think it'll be like the earlier ones, and it'll just be 2 or 3 years later. And so my big concern is with the long shelf life, it being on sale pretty consistently at 20% off. This set's starting to feel stale, which means that it'll be a long time until it starts to ramp up on the secondary market. With that said, we've only seen 20% off on the regular. Maybe we see 40 or 50% off briefly. Yeah, I would grab some at that price, but I am right now saying bad set. Oh, and I meant to say, I think this one is a strong candidate for zombie stock.
Wow, Kevin, I just don't know where to begin. There are so many things wrong with everything you just said. May I ask you, just why do you think LEGO has kept this set around for 4 years and running? Is it because it's not selling well? No, exactly the opposite. Long shelf life does mean more opportunities for investors to pick this up on a discount and sock it away in their closet, but it also means it's selling extremely well. This is by far the best version of this vehicle we've ever gotten so far. And if we look back at those prior versions of the ATTE, the 2008 version, the 2013 version, those values have come down quite a lot because of this set. And as soon as ATTEs are no longer available on shelves, past history shows us that the values go way, way up. This is one of the top 3 vehicles for clone army builders. People want 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 of these. And while the price per piece doesn't look that great, I think this is a rare opportunity to get an outgoing LEGO Star Wars set that is a decent value in the box. I think that's part of why they're retiring this, is it's sold so well for so long, but also they want to retire it and put a different Star Wars playset in this 140 price point that has 600 parts, a smart brick, and is a complete ripoff. And yet another reason this is going to be an amazing investment is right now it's slated to retire at the end of July. And if it retires at that time, this set will not be around for another Insider Days or Black Friday, which means May the 4th, if it's still on the list at that time, could be the best chance to get this on a discount. It's also been widely available for $84 in-store Walmart, but I don't think enough copies are out there to really hold the price down on this too long. And last year in 25, we had the Coruscant Guard gunship, same exact price point as this ATTE. This was available for $97 plus additional discount stacks at Insider Days. Brickset has it for $144, but if we look on Walmart, this is selling today for $180. I picked up 20 copies at just under $100. So what this is showing us is there is still insatiable demand for these Republic Army vehicles. The gunship is probably #1 most iconic, and of ground vehicles, ATTE is the most iconic. So I just don't see how this set misses. So overall, you are wrong, and I'm very excited to see how this set performs if it retires at the end of July as currently scheduled.
DG pop quiz for you. On average, do you tend and prefer to pick up sets with a shorter shelf life or a longer shelf life?
It really doesn't matter to me. It's all about supply and demand. And what a 4-year shelf life is telling me is there's demand.
I gotta be honest, I did not expect you to dodge the question. I don't know how to respond to that, but I think that the argument of a longer shelf life rarely works. Now, the New York City architecture, because it has a 9-year shelf life, I can see that. The occasional 6 or 7 year shelf life, I can see that. But this is in the 3 or so year shelf life sweet spot of failure. And that's what really makes me worry. Whereas the Coruscant Guard gunship was 2 years and 4 months, I am worried about that. Worried. This set right here, Ghost and Phantom 2, Amazon exclusive, not the same 4-year shelf life, but it did get delayed once on the retirement list, so it feels like it's been out longer. So when you mentioned that the ATTE Walker is going to retire in July, to me, that just means 6 more months of zombie stock.
Hard disagree, because if you look at the monthly sales number, ATTE sells so dang many copies. And this is a complete apples to oranges. Apples to oranges, my friend. This is a starship from Rebels and now Ahsoka. You're comparing this at a higher price point to the most iconic Republic land vehicle in all of Star Wars. This is not even apples to oranges. This is apples to jackfruit or pomegranate, something obscure.
You keep saying it's the #1 most popular land vehicle. But whoever talks about land vehicles in Star Wars? Just because it's the #1 land vehicle, it's still probably the 40th. Get out of here. It's still probably the 40th Star Wars vehicle, right? Like, land vehicle. Nobody cares about those.
Kevin, I admire the fight you're putting up. You're really playing the role well, but it's just a losing proposition. This is one of the best Lego Star Wars vehicles. I'm sorry.
Well, I will wrap it up, and then you can do your first set in conclusion, DG. You're wrong.
All right, Kevin, after you were so wrong on the ATTE, I want to know your take on this next set. And I brought this set up several times recently on my channel. I'm sorry for beating you over the head with it. The 76417 Gringotts Wizarding Bank Collector's Edition, the best Harry Potter set of all time. Launched September of 23. It is scheduled to retire at the end of July 26. But what's this? Sold out from Lego.com. Let me tell you something. This has been sold out since mid-December. It's come back on back order for like 5 minutes once. It's the middle of February already. Is this thing coming back or not? I suspect it's not. 4,800 parts, 13 minifigures, and a $430 retail price. If we look over on eBay, this is selling for over double that, $900, $630 plus $150, and that's from China, so good luck with that shipping. $700 shipping to the US from South Korea. That's how badly people want this set. $750 here. What is with South Korea? I guess South Korea is the only place this is available. Okay, here's one in the US, February 5th, $900 plus shipping. Another from the US, $700 plus shipping. On Walmart, you're lucky even to find this set, but when you can, it's $700, $800, or $900. And technically, this set is not retired. So I'm sorry. I'm claiming the credit. I broke the story. This retired early. Sorry. But wait, I'm not done. Man, it's fun being a tyrant. This is a big old set. The top part is a modular on a base plate, and it comes off of the underground vault. So you can actually plug this in with your Diagon Alley set. Other than the space between the two T's on Gringotts Bank, this set is aesthetically perfect. This is the best Harry Potter Lego set of all time. You got this dragon on top. The interior is amazing. Tons of detail. The gift with purchase minecart slots right in. And I know this technically retires at the end of July. It could come back, but even if it does, don't you think that selling for $700 to $900 before retirement is even confirmed is the smokingest gun of smoking guns that you could have for a great Lego investment? I rest my case. Gringotts, $1,000, 2026.
Well, DG, I have multiple points. The first one is, of course, it's a good set because it slipped out of stock and sold out well before anybody expected it to. And it's a huge Harry Potter popular theme, expensive, very good set. Yeah, it's going to be an awesome set, but that's simply because nobody can buy it to invest in it. And so the few that are out there are going to shoot up. I give you credit for breaking the story on this one. You are absolutely right. But I do not give you credit because, and you put your arms down. I do not give you credit because, DG, you are so predictable. I knew you were going to pick this set. So in preparation for today's video, DG, I was looking down this table here, looking at different sets. And when I got to the Gringotts Wizarding Bank, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to talk about this set again, aren't I? I don't know what to say, you know? If we'd all known this was coming, then of course we would have got some. If it does happen to go back in stock, probably Lego.com, maybe somewhere,
It's
maybe some.
exclusive. It's exclusive.
Yeah, but maybe something could show up on Amazon, fingers crossed. But if it does go back into stock, obviously I'm going to buy some. That's only because it's a 1 in a million. My assessment in terms of the set as to wanting to own one, Lego's already done a couple of Gringotts banks. We know more will be coming. But yes, this one is phenomenal. But it's the lower body that I just don't like. It's too open air for me. And if I were to display this on a shelf, I'd be worried about it falling over. I know it's not going to, but just the look of it gives me a little bit of discomfort. And so I just do not like the bottom half of this set.
So this goes one of two ways. Either this is never available again, and the handful of copies out there are basically name your price by the seller, which for me would be $1,000, or it comes back. And if it does come back, maybe we even get it on sale sometime this spring. But I don't know if we'll see a better price than this 20% off plus additional discount stacks that we saw at Insider Days 2025. And in the unlikely event this comes back, I could see a ton of people piling in, buying it at retail, and then it won't do so well. And I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I would bet that this is gone for good and it's $1,000. It would really shock me if we've already seen the highest ever price Gringotts goes for. So great Lego investment. Unfortunately, no one can buy it.
All right, DG, back to my mentions and e-score table. I like the sets up top here. I'm going to cop out a little bit, and I'm going to go over the number one set on the table. Speed Champions Fast and Furious. 83 mentions, only a 2.2 enthusiasm score. It's at the $25 price, not the modern day $28 price. 3.5-year shelf life on camelcamelcamel.com. Yep, it's been on sale, 20% off. There have been a couple of spikes. That's good. Holidays. Interestingly enough, the holidays in 25, no spike, but the most recent holidays. We do have a comparable. The 1970 Fast and Furious Dom's Charger came out in 22, retired in 23. So this one just had a 1 year, 4-month shelf life. That is half of this shelf life. The Camel 3X for the Dom's Charger is awesome. I had like 10 of these at $12 each. Sold them on Marketplace for $35 to $40 each. On Amazon, they're up to 100. So the big question is, good set or bad set? Not a strong bad set, but I'm going with bad set. It's not going to do like Dom's Charger, not even close. It's going to do like all of the other Speed Champions do when we factor in that this one has a little longer of a shelf life. So potentially slightly worse than all the other Speed Champions, but because it's Fast and Furious, I'll bump it back up to just like all the other Speed Champions. The most recently retired Speed Champions, none of them are above retail yet. The Ferrari 812, the Pagani Utopia, the Porsche 963. So in summary, I like it, but it's not the golden egg that we were hoping that it could be when it first came out.
I have to agree with you. I'm just not sure on this set. And let's keep in mind, it's still early in the year. We haven't looked that closely at what sales have been available because there haven't been many sales available in 26. And at the end of the day, whether or not something performs as a Lego investment is contingent on the supply and demand and the price you get it for. This set has really high demand, which is, again, a reason they've kept it around for 3.5 years if it retires in July. But just like the ATTE, that means lots of opportunities for investors to pick this up. Interestingly, we haven't seen as deep of a discount on this so far. I think we saw $16 and change just briefly, maybe for a day. The car looks great. The one comparable we have of a Fast and Furious car is that Dom's Charger, which has done amazingly. I sold mine off between 40 and 50 bucks on Walmart, but I actually dug one out of the closet the other day, and I'm going to be selling that one for $100 with a buy price of 13. I think if you can get a buy price of 13 for Paul Walker's GTR, I think you'd be doing quite well. But again, as you say, Kevin, number one investment set of this year in terms of mentions, that gives me pause. I'm going to be very carefully looking at the supply and demand on a tool like Keepa, on a tool like BrickBucks Ignite, before I commit to spending several $1,000s on 100 copies of this.
One good note for the Nissan is they did release Suki's Honda S2000 middle of last year. So we've got 3 Fast and Furious in Speed Champions form. Maybe we'll get a couple more, a little bit of a collectible series, but I don't think this is going to move the needle a lot for the Nissan.
I agree with you. Although this adds collectability, they kind of dropped the dud after the hot ones that everyone would want. And I don't think Suki's S2000 is going to sell that strongly. And I don't think it'll push much demand at all. to Paul Walker's R34.
I agree with you on it kind of being a dud. I actually think this one's going to perform better than the Nissan in the long run.
Oh, that's a hot take.
It is, but I think this one will have a much shorter shelf life and a pink car. I mean, it's different in the Speed Champions lineup. I think it's cool.
As I said, I'm going to look very carefully at supply and demand before making a decision on whether to go in on this or not. But to bring up a point in favor of the GTR, there are so many reasons pushing people to potentially purchase this set, either during its shelf life or coming up soon here after retirement. You have Paul Walker, who's extraordinarily popular even after his passing. His charity is still very active. This is a cult classic 90s JDM import automobile. Of course, you have General Speed Champions collectability. You have Fast and Furious collectability, which is a little bit of a ridiculous franchise, but it does make a lot of money and it does have a lot of fans. There are 4 or 5 different factors that are pushing potentially separate demographics of people all toward this set. That's something I really like.
And don't forget, I'm sure more movies are on their way.
What are they up to? 10, 11?
Something. I don't know. My kids just asked me the other day, can we watch all the Fast and Furious? And they're 14 and 12 now. And I'm like, yeah, I think we will.
I think we will. We're just going to need 42 hours to do it.
That's right.
All right, Kevin, my first set was an amazing Harry Potter set. Now we're going to talk about a terrible Harry Potter set. And I think you know what's coming. No? Nothing? Okay. All right, I'm going to share.
Is it poop?
It is. It's pointy poop. Gryffindor. The talking sorting hat, $100. And I can't believe it's been over 2 years since this came out. It feels like yesterday. Now, this set makes me really, really sad. And the reason for that is it's such a missed opportunity. The $50 to $70 buildable Harry Potter characters is such a collectible line. And of course, you want the sorting hat. I was going to lego.com for some pictures. Interestingly, this is on back order. That's a little unexpected. The build itself isn't bad looking. And if this was $50 or $60 like the other collectible Harry Potter figures, I could see it doing quite well, and I would be on the other side of the fence. But unfortunately, LEGO shoehorned an electronic feature into this, the voice box. Yes, it's appropriate for the sorting hat, but it's just not LEGO. And they turned what could have been a great set into a bad one. But last year, we had a couple of sets retire. The Mandrake, this was $70 MSRP, and the Buckbeak at $60. Mandrake had 12.1 cents per part. Kind of bad, whereas the Buckbeak was 8.3 cents, a lot better. And if we look on eBay for our $70 Mandrake, we can find it selling for $31, around $40, basically 30 to 40% to 50% below MSRP. Terrible sign. Looking at Camel 3X, Amazon has it today for $50.50. That's 29% off, and this is a retired set as of the end of 25. Let's check out third-party sales. Not good at all. Not once has it sold over MSRP. I don't pay too close of attention to in-store Walmart or Costco deals, but I'm pretty sure this set was available everywhere. It was available at Black Friday for $40. Now, Buckbeak is looking a little bit better, $60 retail, and is going for $50, $45 here, $45. But these two go so well together, and if this sorting hat weren't ridiculously overpriced, thanks to its, again, unnecessary shoehorned-in voice box feature, I think this would be an amazing collection.
DG, it's funny you mentioned Mandrake. I picked up 9 of them at Walmart for $29 average buy-in between Christmas and New Year's. You know, at that price, I feel like I can get up to 55 after a year, but we'll see.
I think you'll do okay at 29, but what set isn't a winner at 58% discount?
All right, so on the sorting hat here, I have to agree with your analysis. My question for you is, are you going to be watching it at all, or have you completely written it off?
I would pick it up at 55% off or better. That's $45 or below.
That's where I'm at, and I actually think it's worth watching. I think it will hit $50 and might hit $40 to $50, and I would probably take a flyer on a few of them at $50 even. It has 19 mentions, but a very low 1.1 enthusiasm score, and on the not top sets table, it has 4 mentions against. The build is actually pretty good. I know it's all brown. I know it looks like a smelly pile of you know what, and the sound brick isn't awful. Do I think it adds $50 of value? Absolutely not, but will it add a little bit of value? I think so.
So I don't necessarily hate the sound brick, but this just gets away from the core of what LEGO is, which is unplugged, analog play. And so I'm not willing to completely write this set off, but it's so darn overpriced that I'm not going to be interested at anything less than 50% off.
My next set, I'm back at the top of our table, and I'm going with Optimus Prime. 48 mentions and a really good 2.6 enthusiasm score.
You love this set. I knew you were going to talk about Optimus.
I do love this set. And what's funny is it has a lot of similarities to the ATTE Walker. Longer shelf life, pretty expensive. This one's 180 for only 1508 pieces. No minifigures, so that's an awful almost 12 cents price per piece. Again, with no minifigures. On Amazon, on sale, it's only 700 a month, so that's also below the ATTE Walker. But on Camel, it's on sale a fair amount, down to 143 pretty often. Obviously, I want it lower than that. Third-party sellers, though, regular action, and a lot of that action is above the $180 retail price. So for me, I am going good set for 3 reasons. Number 1, the camel chart that we just looked at. Number 2, I think this is a one and done. I do not see Lego releasing another Optimus Prime Transformers like this that transforms really ever again. That is a big difference from the ATTE Walker.
Just to go back and go to bat for that Walker yet again, it only comes around like every 5 to 8 years. The Rebels, Rex ATTE, totally different, irrelevant. So actually, it's been 9 years from the 2013 to the 2022.
Oh, you just had to get that off your chest, didn't you? And also, we are getting a series. We've got Bumblebee, we've got Soundwave. Transformers are going to be very collectible. So those are my 3 reasons liking this set a lot. So check this out. Google Trends, one of our favorite charts. Star Wars, blue line, as expected. Transformers, red line. Not bad compared to Star Wars. Now check this out, DG. I threw in a third line for comparison. Fast and Furious, the yellow line. And what do we notice? More often than not, Transformers is above Fast and Furious. Over the last 5 years, it gets a 10, Transformers a 12, and then Star Wars a 36. That makes sense. There is demand for Transformers. There's a following. There's a cult following.
Now, this is a little misleading. I think your red line is including electrical Transformers. A lot of electricians are Googling where they can buy those. So misleading. I would ask the judge to throw out this piece of evidence.
This is a one and done. Bumblebee, Soundwave, all one and done. This is your only chance to get it. It is going to the moon. I don't care about the long shelf life. I cede my time to you because there is no argument in opposition.
I'm going to begrudgingly agree with you, Kevin. I do not like this set. I'm not a Transformers guy, but everything you've said rings true. This set sells really, really well. What's happening with this Transformers set is I think also what's happening with our Fast and Furious Paul Walker's Nissan Skyline, which is the one you really want. The A-list car or Transformer, Optimus Prime, is retiring. And I think the little leftover supporting cast of Suki's S2K and of Yellow Bumblebee don't sell nearly as well. Go back to Amazon. Bumblebee's $200 a month. Nothing at all.
You're just selling it to me even more, man.
Well, hang on. I said I agreed with you, so.
You lukewarm agreed with me. I don't accept that. I want emphatic, enthusiastic agreeing, aggressively agreeing with me. Did you say you are not a Transformers guy?
Let me finish my point, please.
You know, we all have flaws.
So once Optimus leaves shelves, I think he's mostly going to stand on his own merits. And there are many merits to speak of. This is a really cool set. I think his price is going to go up in the aftermarket. And at the right buy price, I will definitely be interested.
All good points. Let me replace Bumblebee with Soundwave. Now we're drawing some future demand. That Soundwave set is awesome. And I bet we're going to get another 1, 2, or 3. I don't think they're done yet.
Forgot about Soundwave, but let's just look on Amazon. How much is he actually selling?
I mean, we don't have Megatron yet. That's got to be in the works, right?
Show me the Amazon.
And when Megatron comes, that's going to drive all of these to the Jupiter moon, not even to our moon.
400. Okay.
Oh, so good.
Optimus 700 plus in the last month. Bumblebee just 200 for a $90 set. That is next to nothing. Nobody's buying Bumblebee. I think he's next to leave because Lego's going to pull the plug on what they now know is a mistake. Now Soundwave is interesting, and I know you are always way up on Soundwave. I guess you're a Transformers guy. Like I said, all this stuff is way over my head. Shoot, shoot, shoot. The only Transformers I even know are Bumblebee and Optimus. And let's not overthink things like in past years, Kevin, you and I were poo-pooing the Luke's X-Wing and the TIE Fighter, thinking, oh, these are too basic, these are too obvious, Lego's gonna remake it. No, those sets have performed amazingly. I think Optimus is gonna follow the same track.
I'm not asking you to overthink, I'm just asking you to think.
You get your zinger, all right? I'm leaving that one in. I begrudgingly agree. Optimus Prime is a strong candidate for investment. All right, Kevin, back to my wheelhouse, which is Star Wars. And this next set is an interesting one because I'm not entirely sure I've made up my mind. The midi-scale Executor Super Star Destroyer, the first to be launched in the line way back at May the 4th of 2023. This is currently scheduled to retire by the end of July, along with the Rebel Home 1, which looks terrible, and the Republic Acclimator class to go alongside the Venator that just released. Now, although this was the first to launch, we've actually actually had two Starship Collection sets already retire. The Tantive 4, $80, and the Invisible Hand at $50. Tantive was widely available for 40, 50, and even 60% off, while Invisible Hand, Target exclusive, only hit 40% off. So it was $30 down from its regular retail of $50. I ended up skipping Invisible Hand entirely, even though it's the first time we've seen this ship in LEGO Star Wars. And today on eBay, this is going for $82. 78, 75, between $60 and $75. And looking on Walmart, today's price is nearly $90, almost double MSRP, just a couple of months after retirement. The reason I chose to skip this set, as you guys know, I do sell on Walmart, and today there are 14 sellers, but before Q4, there were like 40 sellers on this Walmart listing. I thought it would be swamped, and while I did like the ship, I love that this is the first time we've seen this CIS capital ship. We don't see a lot of CIS capital ships. All those things were going for this, and yet I chose to sit it out because I didn't like what I thought would be an oversupply. Just a couple of months in, it looks like I was wrong. Tantive was so widely available on that deep discount that it hasn't yet grown even close to its MSRP. It's going between $45 and $55 on eBay. On Walmart, it's a little bit higher, going for $62. We can see on Walmart 43 sellers there, most of which picked this up on a deep discount, I'm sure. So I'm glad I steered clear of Tantive, and that was a pretty easy choice for me. It was a lot harder choice to pass up the Invisible Hand because I knew I missed the $30 price, and while I saw it for $35, I just thought 35 would be too high to go in deep on this. Oh well. But back to the Executor. This set is a Walmart exclusive, and we have had retirement scares before, like back in 2024. This was on the list until after May 4th. If it retires at the end of July, as it's currently scheduled to, May 4th might be a good opportunity to pick this set up. But I also think it's interesting that this set was $40 at Walmart's Black Friday, down from $70, which is the lowest ever price we could get it at. The nice thing about Walmart is, number one, you can get high quantities, and number two, if you're a registered business, you can get tax exempt. So you could pick up many, many copies of this set for $40, and I'm very curious to know if anyone watching this video did do that, anticipating a July retirement in 26, and are keeping a little hush-hush about it. The Super Star Destroyer is pretty high up on your table. 46 mentions is a lot. 2.5 enthusiasm score, decently high. So I just don't quite know what to make of this. Generally, Walmart exclusives don't do as well as Target exclusives. So with that in mind, maybe the Executor won't do as well as Invisible Hand. So I just don't know on the Executor. What do you think, Kevin?
So did you go good set or bad set?
I'm asking you first.
No, I'm asking you first.
It's still so early in the year that I would want to see more sales data, and I would want to see if this gets pushed out from its July scheduled retirement date. But if I have to pick today, I'm going to say bad set because it's so high profile, because it is a Walmart exclusive. It has seen in-store clearance, which I don't participate in. I do love sets with high sales velocity, but high up on your table like that might not be the fit for me.
That's pretty funny. I'm really hesitant to go good set, bad set on this one too, but I'm going to go good set by a hair. It sounds like you and I are right down the middle, but just slightly opposite. I'm not going good set just because of the set. I'm going good set because of the Starship Collection sub-theme. I think they're really easy to figure out. The first two that you mentioned that have already retired, they saw 40 to 60% discounts. I picked up 6 or 7 of the Tantive 4s at $36 at Target. I picked up a few of the Invisible Hands at $30. I wish I'd had more of both. I'm not picking up any of the future ones unless I see them 40 to 60% off. And some of them I won't pick them up unless I see at least 50% off. But the trend is they all are way overpriced, that they all see that discount. So I don't even have to spend time looking at data on these, in my opinion. I like to play the whole field on this sub theme. I'm just waiting until they go on discount. I grab them. For example, the Executor Super Star Destroyer, all of my local Walmarts went to $35, so 50% off on them over the last week. There weren't many in stock. I wasn't able to get most of what it looked like could be in stock, but I did get 2 at $35. So I think I'm up to 4 or 5 of those now. But I'm not getting any more unless Walmart happens to get more and they do the $40 online thing or the $35 in store. Otherwise, I've got what I'm getting.
We're a little bit in uncharted territory with all these July retirements because usually we have Black Friday, deep sale season, and then stuff immediately disappears and becomes unavailable on the primary market. And unlike the dioramas, which you are so fond of,
still love them.
The Starship Collection does seem to be doing better, and the most recent releases, the way overpriced Tiny AT-AT and the way overpriced $80 midi-scale Venator, are some of the best and most popular vehicles. The AT-AT and the Venator, are you kidding me? So I think there is going to be collectability driven by those new releases, and the Starship Collection may end up like the helmets, an evergreen series with strong collectability. I don't think the Starships will do quite as well as the helmets just because they aren't characters.
But better than the dioramas, clearly.
Oh, thank God.
Pains me to say that.
We finally pulled that out of you with much hesitation. So as I said, let's watch the supply and demand data before jumping to conclusion. And we want your thoughts. Please drop a comment below if you've picked this setup or if you're steering clear, and tell us why.
And while you're down below, check out the link to our Ignite program. And when I say our Ignite program, it's Shane with BrickBucks program, but we use it and we have a link for it. And DG, how did I find and hear that this set went to 50% off at Walmart's? Everybody in the comments started firing off. Big shout out to all the Igniters posting and sharing what they're seeing in their regions so that we can all check it out in our regions. So yeah, check out our link, first month free. It's an awesome program.
Kevin, what's your next set?
All right, DG, I have 2 sets left. I'm debating, but I think I'm going to save the Star Wars one for last. So I got to scroll down my table to find my number 4 set. There it is, the Mona Lisa. 14 mentions, 1.4 enthusiasm score.
Category normal.
There's nothing normal about this set. Less than a 2-year shelf life if it retires this July. It's from the art theme. $100, 1503 pieces, makes sense. The set looks pretty awesome. I know a lot of people beat up on it. If we come look at Amazon, it's on sale right now, $600 in the last month. Not bad for a set that gets beat up as much as it does. We look on Camel. The green line, Amazon first party sales, been on sale a lot recently, back up over after the holidays and now back to 85. And then third party sellers have all been below the primary market sellers. And if we look at comparables, a bunch of art sets that have already retired, pretty much none of these are back up to the retail price. We get into some of the older ones like the Rolling Stones, a little bit above retail. Elvis Presley was a good one, 120 to 165. So a lot of the data really says this set is not going to do well. And for that reason, it's a good set in my book.
Interesting inverse of the inverse strategy there.
Let me just throw out real quick. I'm depending on a heavy discount. I think it'll be $60, if not $50 at some point. $60 for this set. Mona Lisa will never be rebuilt in Lego again.
Well, it is a beautiful frame, and I actually don't hate the face as much as people are making a big deal out of. From a distance, if you don't look that closely at the face, it's pretty good. It's decent sized. I like the lower price point of $99. Yes, brick set prices and brick link prices are a little bit lower on art sets, but if we look on eBay or Amazon and other marketplaces, I think we'll find those prices are actually a lot higher. After no art sets retired in 2025, I think art does have some opportunities in 26. Of course, everyone knows the Mona Lisa, but this painting is not actually that great. It's not actually that popular, and I don't think a lot of people are actually going to go for this, especially compared to other better art sets like the Van Gogh ones and the Great Wave. Past art sets can give us comparables, but art doesn't have that strong collectability. I think just because someone has maybe the 2 Van Gogh sets, I don't think they're going to be driven to buy this Mona Lisa. So I think this is going to be a bad set. It's the biggest dud in the entire art theme. This Great Wave set, also retiring in July, this is a great set, and I like this way more for Lego investment. Starry Night, an even longer shelf life, but this set is incredible. Yes, the build looks tedious, but the 3-dimensionality at the lower right, the way Van Gogh pops out there, this is awesome, and it's reflected in the sales data. We're going to look more closely at that sales data as we go through the year, but I'm looking very closely at Starry Night and Great Wave, not at all at Mona Lisa. Okay, it is now time to reward our longtime viewers who did not click off the video. I'm going to present a set that I have extremely high conviction in, and I think could be one of the best investments of the year. The Great Pyramid of Giza. This comes from the architecture theme, the Landmark series, and notably, last year in 2025, we did not have any landmarks retire. We only had the 2 Skylines, the New York and the Paris. Let's go over some basics. Launched in 2022, this is on the July retirement list. So exactly a 4-year shelf life, nearly 1,500 parts for $130 retail price. Price per piece looks okay at 8.8 cents, but let's keep in mind this is an architecture set. They are small pieces. The completed model isn't that large. What the completed model is, though, is incredibly detailed. Look at all these trees, the entrance there. Great looking set, beautiful color palette, and if we remove the exterior, we can see this fun little Easter egg diorama of the workers schlepping the enormous stones up to the top. Just beautiful looking details here. The pyramids are one of the coolest pieces of architecture of all time. I think most of us saw this story of the Danish foreign minister gifting the Egyptian foreign minister a copy of this set. Look at that reaction. That's just awesome. And of course, Lego comes from Denmark, so this is just a nice news story there. But why do I think this set is going to perform so well as an investment? For one thing, on Amazon, it's going for retail price, only 50 plus in the last month, but this is the cool part of the year. And scrolling down here, only 10 sellers, starting from MSRP. No lowballs on this listing. So what that tells me is once Amazon sells out, the price is immediately going to jump to whatever the third parties say. And it looks like the lowest today is 166. So as soon as Amazon sells out, this is going to jump about 25%. Looking on eBay, it's not looking as strong. We're going between 90 and 110. $10, so about 10 to 20% under MSRP, pretty standard for a non-retired set. If we look on Keepa, we can get a more complete data picture. This top chart in the orange is showing only the price when it's in stock from Amazon. And we'll notice there are some big gaps here where Amazon doesn't have it in stock. This middle chart in the light yellow, that's showing the average monthly sold, looking back historically. So through most of the year, it's selling 500 or 600 a month, and then its first Q4, 6,000 a month. Its next Q4, 4,000 a month, and most recently in 2025, up to 5,000 a month again. This is where it gets really juicy. The bottom chart is our seller count. At most, this set has had 34 sellers way back in November of 2023. Over 2 years ago. And by the end of each Christmas season, as it sells down, you get down to just a handful of Amazon sellers. Now I'm going to put on the third-party sales. All these triangles are FBA sales through Amazon. This set has sold a ton, over $150, over this $175 line, and even over this $200 line. I'm seeing high demand, I'm seeing low supply, and I'm seeing what could be a very promising Lego investment here in the Great Pyramid of Giza.
DG, great analysis, and I agree with you. I'm not quite as strongly in support of this set, but in my own head, I've gone through some whiplash with this set. Early this year, or I guess even through last year, knowing or thinking that it was going to retire this year, I was like, I don't think so. It's been out for a while. It's starting to feel stale. The demand isn't going to be crazy high, but the supply is going to be low enough that the demand will be the driving factor here. And so, yeah, I'm seeing the same thing you're seeing, and I'm excited about it. I picked up the Taj Mahal, the most recent Landmark series set to retire. This one retired at the end of 24. I think I was 40 to 45% off, and it's showing 124. And, it's only been a year or so. We've already had other Taj Mahals where we have not had the pyramid. That's the first one. I would expect this Taj Mahal to grow a little slower. It's right where I would expect it to be. I'm going to hold on to it for another, probably to these holidays, and it'll do okay. But that pyramid, though, first one, I think it's going to be great, and I think it's flying under the radar.
And another thing I'm kind of counting on here is for Lego investors to be snoozing on architecture, because last year had just a limited retirement class of those two Skylines. Skylines do great, and those Skylines, I think on your table were toward the top, at least New York was. And Kevin, it is so interesting and valuable to have your accumulated mentions data. Since this set came out over 3 years ago, only 7 mentions for investment, 1.4 enthusiasm. Maybe that's because it hasn't been slated to retire. I would expect that to come up quite a lot, especially after this video hits the airwaves. But this Great Pyramid, watch out.
Time for my last set, as promised. Star Wars, and it is a great set. Spilling the beans. And no, I'm not talking about the Dark Falcon today. Sorry, guys, we'll save that for a future video.
You had me fooled.
I did. If it retires at the end of this year, I'd be surprised if it does, but if it does, only a 2.5-year shelf life.
You think it won't retire? I'm sure it will retire.
$180, 6 exclusive minifigures. If we add the value up from Brickset here, $100 in minifigure value. That's all the teasing we're going to do. You have to wait for a future video for us to deep dive on this one. I'm moving to my 5th and final set for this video, Jabba's Sail Barge. On the table here, 17 mentions, 1.6 enthusiasm score. I think that's way too low. And the R in parentheses means it's expected to retire this December, which means just a 2-year, 3-month shelf life for a UCS ship. It is $500, but check out these minifigures, DG. I did tons of homework today. I already added up the value of these, and it comes up to like $280 in minifigure value on a $500 UCS set. That is awesome.
11 figures, 8 unique, and if we look at past iterations of a lot of these figures, Slave Leia, Jabba the Hutt, Max Rebo the musician. These are figures with a fanatical following, and if they stay exclusive to this Sail Barge, these figures too are going to command a very high price.
Here on Camel, So far, no discounts on Amazon. And this is interesting. Third-party sellers are below retail. Now, this chart is not scaled, from 0 to 500. So it looks like way below retail, but the lowest is only 465. So most of the resales are in the 480 range, just $20 off of the retail price. Not horrible, but I would have thought maybe some of these would have jumped higher than retail. I'm not letting it slow me down. Let's look at the UCS series on Brickset. I've made this point before. The first of these large Star Wars ships historically do really, really well. And as we scroll down here, we do not see any other UCS Jabba sail barges. In fact, we only have two others. They were both smaller play scale sets. This one that retired in 2014 retailed for $120 up to over $300. And then an old one retired in 2007, expected $75 to $576. The new one is huge, full of minifigures, and it also ties in with this Desert Skiff Sarlacc pit that just retired. And this one retailed for $80, and here on eBay, $130 was shipping, $115 was shipping, another $120 or so. So this one jumped up in value mostly because of the minifigures, and I think this will do the same. And lastly, I have some comparables. The first ever UCS Razor Crest just retired, and the first ever UCS AT-AT retired at the end of 24. If we check out the Razor Crest on eBay, $720 when it retailed for $600 but was on sale for the low 400s. $750, a little lower on that one, but in the $700 to $800 range with shipping. And then the AT-AT that retailed for $850, $1,300 with bids, $1,330 with shipping, another in the $1,300 range, a little lower on that one. But either way, it's $1,200 to $1,400 when you add shipping on top.
Even higher on Amazon and Walmart.
Exactly right. Both of those are even higher on Amazon and Walmart. So yeah, I can't say much more. The evidence is there. I am supremely excited about this set. I'm sure we'll be able to get it for equivalent $400, and I see it being an $800 set pretty quickly.
For the record, I do agree with you on the Jabba sail barge. I think this is going to be a screaming investment for all the reasons you listed. But the AT-AT is one of the most iconic vehicles in all of Star Wars. The Razor Crest is a little bit of a different animal. Of course, that's from The Mandalorian, and LEGO has made the strange decision to retire that set at the end of 25, right before The Mandalorian movie comes out in 26. So I expect the Razor Crest to go even higher later in 2026 after that movie comes out, but that Razor Crest is very dependent on a new release to push the price even higher in retirement. Jabba's sail barge, of course, is from way back in Return of the Jedi, and I don't even know if this has made appearances in other Star Wars media, but it doesn't matter. We know from prior versions of this vehicle and of these minifigures that LEGO Star Wars collectors will pay a premium. I am intrigued by the $500 price point. It's sort of medium to high. I'm considering it high, and I am intrigued by the very short, just 2-year and 3-month shelf life. And the UCS sail barge is a little odd because while it's UCS display oriented, it does have an interior. I wouldn't say this is meant for play, but those detailed interiors with the UCS quality minifigures do make for a pretty cool scene, whether this is closed up or opened up like this. Like you said, this integrates perfectly with that desert skiff. You can line up those minifigures on the deck of the sail barge and make believe whatever scene you want. Now, on the other hand, my hesitation is that this is kind of a big brown blob, and if you only have space or budget for a couple of UCS sets, I would ask any prospective fan, would you really want this one? So I'm not sure the demand is going to be quite as wide as iconic vehicles like the Star Destroyer or the AT-AT Walker. But like we've mentioned a few times recently on the podcast, big price points like these, $300, $400, $500 and up, scare a lot of investors off because that is a lot of money to put into one set. This is retiring at the end of December, and I predict that for Insider Days, we're going to get this 20% off down to $400, of course with additional discount stacks. We can hope they're as good as last year's with 2 GWPs and 10 or 15% Rakuten, but if I can get this for around $350, I'm going to go really deep on the sail barge. And this is subject to change, but currently we have 4 UCS sets scheduled to retire. The Jabba's sail barge, the Falcon, the TIE Interceptor that just launched, and the Venator. It's possible that not all 4 of those retire, but even if only 3 retire, investor capital is going to be split up among those 4. We'll look at the others in later videos this year, but I think you can't go wrong with the Jabba sail barge at 30 to 40% off.
All great points, DG. Originally, I was not loving this set because of the brown blob and because of the uniformity here. I wanted the side to be broken up, a little randomness, but I finally got around to watching the review of this set, and if I get one collection, which I kind of want one now. I'm displaying it like this. The interior is so cool. All the minifigures in there, the minifigures from the other Sarlacc pit set. There's some real value here and some real excitement, and it's unique, and we're not getting another Jabba Sail Barge UCS. I mean, years, decades, if ever. Oh,
We're just going to have to wait and see. All right, so just for a recap, I have brought 2 good sets, 1 bad set, and 1 toss-up. I am going to restore order to the Force by balancing it out and talking about another terrible set. And while that was a Star Wars reference, plot twist, we're talking about a Technic NASA set. 42158, NASA Mars Rover Perseverance. 1,132 parts for $100. Not good at all for Technic because a lot of these parts are itty-bitty little Technic pins and bits and bobs. Pretty cool rover from our Mars mission 2020, and the set itself is alright. I know I'm baiting you with this one, Kevin, because you love space-oriented Technic sets. $100 retail price. If we look on eBay, it's going for 75 shipped, 70, 75, 93 shipped here, 77. Good bit below MSRP, closer to 30% down instead of 10 or 20. Looking on Amazon, it's going for full price today. And if we pop over to Keepa, once again, top line is direct sales from Amazon. So this lower bound right here is right around $80. Looks like we saw it once very briefly around Black Friday for just 30% off. Not too deep of a discount. Sells around $1,000 a month for most of the year, and then that jumps up to $10,000 in Q4. Quite a lot. And then on our bottom chart here, before I add third parties, this does look to be decently low supplied. For the first few years, it's been around 20 sellers consistently, then as high as 65, and as low as 6 at one point, but today there are 16 sellers. So let's look at the third party sales. Looking on FBA, wow, that's a whole lot of triangles appearing between MSRP and actually 20% below MSRP, and just a handful of triangles up here around 120. It's never been as high as 140 at the top line on the chart there. Not quite what I would expect to see given the high sales velocity and the low seller count on Amazon. And this set is much better than this monstrosity, the Lunar Rover, 220 retail, and Brickset has it for 150. So this one is an absolute wash. I know you bought this set, Kevin, so I don't mean to make you feel too bad, but I do want to make you feel a little bit bad.
I only bought one for personal collection, and when I tracked it, it never got to the price point I was hoping for. I think I missed it a couple of times, pretty close, but yeah, I liked it, but I wanted it on big discount. Never saw it.
Well, you may have missed it by accident, but it turns out that was a very happy accident because this set belongs in the garbage. And while I don't think the Perseverance will do quite as badly, I don't think it's going to do much better.
You are so wrong. This is an awesome set. The space race is just heating up. Mars is just heating up, even though it's further from the sun than the Earth, but it's just heating up, darn it. This is a really mechanical Technic build that represents the actual vehicle. Excellent job. Your Keepa chart, other than those third-party prices, it's selling me. 10,000 a month sales velocity over the holidays. Not many sellers right now. Probably a longer hold time. I grant you that. I'm willing to do that. I like the idea of investing in space in general, and I think Lego space sets is a good way to do that because the next 2 to 5 years are going to be pretty fascinating when it comes to the space race. And of course, beyond that too. And DG, how many is it selling typically per month on Amazon throughout the year?
Most of the year, 1,000.
For a Technic set that's very mechanical looking and space, that's pretty good.
That is pretty good. There is a different Technic set, the yellow $50 Bugatti Bolide. Totally different class of Technic vehicle. That is, of course, a supercar rather than a NASA space set. But that thing sells even hotter, multiple thousand a month. I am looking at that one for investment. You have some decent points about the space race. And I said, I don't hate this set. I just don't like the lack of sales much over MSRP.
Hold, please. I will leave everyone with 2 thoughts as to why you are way wrong on this one, DG. Number 1, here's the top of the table. We only have to do 1 scroll to get to this set. 45 mentions, a 2.6 enthusiasm score. Because it's Technic, I'm not worried about it being too hot or over buzzed or anything like that. There aren't a lot of Technic investors anyways, but there's definitely some popularity here. The second takeaway is this Ideas Curiosity Rover that is a tiny little set retailed for $30 back in 2014. It goes for $300 new.
10x is pretty impressive. I will grant you that. And you do score some points for digging this sort of obscure early ideas set out of the back of the file cabinet. But a couple key differences. That set was out for only a year. This Perseverance Rover is out for what, 3 or 4 years? Completely different price point. And honestly, all those early ideas sets have gone ballistic.
Nobody was investing in Technic sets back then. $300 for that little set. If people are paying it, that does show some demand. Now, it hasn't translated over yet to the larger one, but with the space race going on, get it on a good discount. a little bit of a patience. I'm loving it.
I'm willing to watch it, and I
There's
guess
no backtracking. You said you hate the set, and that's what you're sticking with.
I'm paying you a compliment. Your argument was convincing, all right?
Oh, I'm not used to compliments. Sorry.
Yeah, you don't know what to do. So if you have thoughts on the Perseverance or any other set we talked about today, leave a comment down below. It's still early in the year, so there's a lot of room to change our minds, and there's still time to do due diligence and do some more homework, even for the July retirement list. We'd love to read your guys' thoughts and interact with you guys. Kevin, as wrong as I may be on the Perseverance, I am still not nearly as wrong as you are on the greatest LEGO Star Wars land vehicle of all time.
Thanks for watching, everybody. That's a wrap, and we'll see you in the next one, which is podcast number 40.